welcome to the reality of voice acting with yours truly, Richard Hawks, your host. Today's video is going to be talking about Fiverr. Now, and as we talk about Fiverr, I want to preface this and start by saying this is not a Fiverr hating video. This is a Fiverr reality video of one person's experience on how I've experienced Fiverr and how I've made money on Fiverr and how I've seen some mistakes in what I've done up to this point in working on Fiverr. Now, I have a few points here, so if you see me kind of look away from the screen here, I'm actually looking down at my notes. So as we kind of preface this and get this whole thing started, I want to start this from the very top, and let's start with point number one. Point number one let me actually go back. Before I get with point number one, let me talk about my experience on Fiverr. I originally started on Fiverr 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I actually started on Fiverr doing graphic design work because that's what I was doing back then at that particular time. Now, I had opened up my Fiverr account at the time because it was something that popped up. They were new and as a freelancing site, and I didn't even use the profile that much at all. So my Fiverr profile was dormant until I started to get into it again and then restructured all of my gigs and everything to be around voiceover and got into voiceover from a dormant gig. So everything that I'm telling you is from a very dormant gig, a very dormant Fiverr profile is what we're speaking from, a very dormant Fiverr profile. So, number one, first thing that we need to do when we're talking about Fiverr, adjust your expectations. Now, this video was going out to people who are brand new to Fiverr. We're talking about brand new to Fiverr, brand new to voiceover, right? Now, if you're somebody that's brand new to Fiverr, but not brand new to voiceover, and you've been in this game you're one of these people who've been in this game for 15, 16 years, and you've got not professional, but when I say a better word is you got national clients you got big name clients under your belt, you got national clients under your belt, and and your resume is huge, long, and impressive, then you should probably go over to the Fiverr Pro side, which I don't know anything about. But there's a Fiverr Pro side and just the regular Fiverr side. I'm speaking specifically from the regular Fiverr side and speaking from the standpoint from those of us who are coming in new to the world of voiceover. That's what I'm speaking from in the context of this. Now, in the context of speaking from the experienced voiceover artist that already has a big resume coming into Fiverr, I'm not speaking from that perspective. Now, so I'm specifically speaking from the perspective of to the new voiceover artist that's just really getting into this thing and really starting, and they see Fiverr as a way to quote unquote get some on-the-job training, or to quote unquote get some easy work, or to quote unquote get in and make a lot of money because they are in a group and they see everybody else just talking about all of these orders that they're doing and all of this money that they're making, and it's just so great. And people are posting posting screenshots of their earnings page. So you're seeing it, and then there's like, wow. And then some of the people you're looking at and you're listening to their work, and you're like, well, they're good, but you're saying to yourself, well, hey, I'm pretty good too. So yeah, I should be able to, they're making about $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000 a month. I should be able to get that, so which brings me into my first point. Point number one especially if you're first getting into this business as a voiceover artist and you're brand new into the game and you're first jumping on the Fiverr. Number one, adjust your expectations. Adjust your expectations. Let that sit in for a minute. Because the point of the matter is simply this. When you're new as a voiceover artist, number one, there's a lot of barriers that we're coming into in the midst of this business as being new. Some of them are strictly from the standpoint of not knowing what we don't know. Okay. And we're learning those things as we go. We may not have our processes that we've put in place may not be as solid as we think they are. So in that particular instance, we have to change things. We may not know our DAW as much as we think we do. We may not be producing as high a quality sound as we think we are. So I said all of that to say, adjust your expectations going into Fiverr. Adjust your expectations going in from an income standpoint as far as what you think you should be making, and from let's start right there from an income standpoint. Because a lot of people, you don't want to get into thinking that you're going to get over into Fiverr and it's going to be some easy money, because you see a lot of other people banging it out, kicking out thousands and thousands of dollars per month, because we don't necessarily know how long it took them to get to where they are and what road it took for them to take to get there. So, and everybody's situation is different. That's another reason why I say adjust your expectations, and which gets me back to another video that I did, setting goals. You must kind of step back as in the midst of setting expectations. Let me talk on this for a second. You have to initially set goals for your business. Realize this is a business. Set goals for your business. Set realistic boundaries and realistic time frames that you're going to be able to, when you're going to be able to work and when you're not going to be able to work. We all know that when we're first starting this off, we're not going to be making what we think we're going to make or what we feel like we should make. So let's make sure that we set realistic goals and boundaries and time frames so that we can do what's necessary to build our business while we're still living our life without causing any major disruptions in our lives as we're going through building our business. So set goals. And in the midst of setting your goals, make sure you have some good, realistic expectations. Adjust your expectations. Don't think you're going to get out here and just start in Fiverr and throw a couple gigs out there, and all of a sudden your gigs are going to just shoot to the top, and you're going to get work out, and you're going to just get work upon work upon work upon work upon work. Now, some people may actually have it to happen that way, but for most people, I promise you, it does not. And although there are lots and lots and lots and lots of people that are having immense, heavy amounts of success on Fiverr, and you can too. However, we all have to adjust our expectations going in so that when we're going through the process, which we'll start to talk about in the midst of here in a minute, so as we're going through the process, we won't get burned out and we won't kind of faint under the process because we don't see the end goal, or where we're going doesn't feel like it's really taking us to the place that we're trying to get to. Now, which leads me directly into my next point. When dealing with Fiverr, and I know we haven't even actually gotten into the nuts and bolts of Fiverr just yet, but these two things are very important. Second thing, be patient. I'm going to say that one more time. Be patient. When you're dealing with Fiverr, You may be one of these people who get out there, put your gigs out there, put all of your voice, put all of your samples and everything out with your gigs, and then you might be one of those ones with a special unique voice or a special unique characteristic that gets out there that people latch onto, and boom, it really catches on and really has a lot of success early, right? That's possible. Now, but what if you fall into the category of where that doesn't happen to you, and you have to really make sure that you go in and really work your account, and you have to really get out there and really work the buyer request, and you have to really get out there and dig in and grind it out with your Fiverr account, and because you're not getting all of that extra boost that someone else might be getting. And here's the problem, and here's another reason why I say be patient. And this gets along into, you can't look too closely at what other people are doing. And well, let me rephrase that. You can't look too closely at what other people's results are, because everybody's journey is different and every person is different. Every voice actor is different. If you're one of those people who are new into this game and you're just getting into this world of voice acting, then you can't or you shouldn't anticipate to be having the same level of success as someone who's been in the realm of being a professional voice actor for the last 5, well, let's even say going hard for the last 3 to 5 years. We can't expect to have their same level of success if they've been going for hard for 3 to 5 years and we have not. Be patient. We have to build up our skill. Not only do we have to build up our skill, we have to build up our processes. We have to make sure that we are consistently producing a good product. We have to make sure that our acting skills are on point. We have to make sure that we're going through and weeding out all of the people who want us to work for very, 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 very little consistently, and there's a whole process behind all of that, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But even before we even start to talk about actual things of Fiverr in itself, number one, adjust your expectations. Yes, you may be that one who puts their first 3 gigs out there, and everything just, goes to the moon. However, you may not be that one who does that, and you may have to really get out there and grind it out. So, adjust your expectations. Be patient. If you get out there and really start to hammer and really focus and really dig in, work will come. Now, speaking of work coming, that brings us down to my next point. Let's go down and talk about my third point in dealing with Fiverr. And once again, we're talking about the reality of dealing with Fiverr from a voice acting standpoint. All right, number 3, do the basics. Do the basics. Now, what are we talking about when we're saying do the basics? Now, I'm going to go through a list of a few things that I've kind of compiled. And of course, everybody will have their different results and their different thoughts on these things. And I definitely welcome the conversation about it. This video is being uploaded on YouTube right now to my YouTube channel, The Reality of Voice Acting with Richard Hawks. So if you're looking at this right now, definitely comment on your thoughts, what you think about the content, what you think about what I'm saying about Fiverr. Do you think any of it is relevant? And once again, this is not a Fiverr bashing video. This is not a video to say, oh, Fiverr is the worst thing to ever happen to voiceover. I mean, I'll look at this from a standpoint of we are in a worldwide web, right? I mean, and in the midst of the World Wide Web, it allows us to literally be connected to the world. It opens up the playing field for us to do a variety of things. So Fiverr is just one of those tools that I think, just like any other tool, if you use it properly, efficiently, and effectively, then it can yield you some good results. So I'm just here to talk about what I've done, what has happened, and just things from my perspective. I'm not a voiceover coach. I'm not out here trying to say that I'm the expert. I'm not here to invite you to my mastermind group of any sort. I'm here providing you just information from my perspective, and just providing you information from my perspective, and just hoping that what I'm telling you can educate you and get you to do some things that I may not have done and avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into. That way you can be able to maximize what you're doing on Fiverr. Now, do the basics. Now, let's start right from the top. The first one I got under do the basics is take the Fiverr free course. On Fiverr, they in their learning section, they have a free course that talks about how to set up your gig and how to go through and structure things. And it goes through and it talks about the platform. And it gives you all of the basics on how to go through and set up your gigs, and gives you a good basic overview, right, of how to get started and get everything set up. Now, go through and do that. And when you're going through and doing that, because this is just giving you the basics and the how-tos and how to get around. And you need to know that. It's very important. Now, in the midst of you doing that definitely filters right down into our next thing. Completely fill out your profile. What does that mean? That means making sure that you have not just a professional picture, excuse me, not just a professional picture, a good video, a good professional clear video, a PDF perhaps of previous work that you've done. If you haven't done any previous work thus far, a really good video, really good samples that are relevant, okay? Make sure that your gigs are filled out completely. Make sure you have your gig extras. Make sure that your gig descriptions are really thorough. Make sure that your gig titles are relevant. Make sure that your keywords are actually relevant to what you're doing as well. And this all gets into search engine optimization, or SEO. And this all gets in talking about your gig structure and all of that. And with keywords, you can that gets into a whole nother conversation. But you want to really make sure that your titles are relevant. You want to make sure that your descriptions are as professional and as clean. And when I say professional, I'm talking about you just want just the basic things. You want your grammar to obviously all your words to be spelled correctly and such, just to have some good formatting and such, and just to make it look nice and neat. It's nothing over the top or anything like that, but just make sure that things are filled out. The gig extras. Here's something that I kind of learned that I learned that I'm going to implement more of, that it really started to help, and I didn't implement it on my profile as much as I'm going to be doing now after this video. The gig extras. The gig extras are a really, really good thing and a good place to kind of put some of the good upsells that you can do for your voiceover business. And the questions, your frequently asked questions. Your frequently asked questions really help to answer a lot of the questions about your gig that you don't have to answer again in back and forth messaging with your potential customer. Because one of the things that you want to do, and another reason to completely fill out your profile, when you have a completely filled out profile with professional pictures, And when I say professional pictures, I'm talking about, well, I'm just going to say professional pictures. We're not talking about selfies and all of these type of things. Selfies are great, yeah. And if you're a graphic designer, if you have a logo, that's great as well. Or if you're able to get if you're able to get some graphics done, logo done, that's affordable for you, then that'll be great also. But make sure that you have some professional pictures, right? Professional pictures and a good high quality video, that a good, clear, high quality video. Even if it's just a high quality video of you having a couple minutes where you just talk, a couple seconds where you just go through and a little where you talk about, not a few seconds, but obviously more than a few seconds, but a little bit where you go through and introduce yourself, what you're about, what your service is, and boom, and go from there. It obviously gives them a chance to hear your voice as well, to hear how you sound, how your production sounds, and what you're able to do for them as a client, okay? And something else with professional pictures and a fully, completely filled out profile, with all of your information and everything looking neat and clean, it wards away spammers. Now, granted, all of them won't get warded away, but one thing that you get a lot when you first start, and it goes down as the better you have your profile filled out. Because I noticed this when I had earlier on when I first got back and kind of started to work my profile, and it started to pop up in searches. Obviously, I was popping up in the searches in the batch of newer people because I was a no level seller, in which obviously there's various levels to being on Fiverr, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But I was a no level seller, and my profile wasn't filled out before, and I got a lot of spam. When I went through, updated my profile, filled out my gigs more completely, made everything look a little bit more cleaner, put some professional pictures out there, updated the graphics, my spam got really low. Now, that didn't completely eliminate the spam, and sure, we get still some things come through. Comes with the territory. However, a completely filled out profile not only wards the spam away when you have other clients that do look at your profile, and interesting enough, there's actually a lot of people who spend big money on Fiverr, and who spend consistent money on Fiverr as well. So when people are looking at your profile, you want them to be able to see that even if you're a new profile, you want to have enough of a professional looking profile and professional elements all within your profile that it shows that you're already an industry professional that may be new to Fiverr, and not just someone that is new to the industry and new to Fiverr, if those make sense at all. Now, moving on to the next thing, still talking about your profile, a video demo. Now, here's something that I found out that tended to get me a little bit, few more hits, and a few more impressions in my profile, with my profile. A video demo, a short 60-second, less than 60 seconds actually, about 59 seconds seems to be the sweet spot for me. But 59 seconds, no more than 60 seconds for definitely, because it's not going to even accept it. Video demo. And this can obviously apply into the gig that you're doing, that you're putting it toward. Excuse me. But putting it toward obviously making a video toward the gig that you're putting it, that it applies. But a video demo, gigs with video demos, and in my opinion, and what I've noticed in my own, my gigs that I had video demos on got more impressions than my gigs that didn't have video demos on. And more impressions means more looks, more clicks, more possibilities of getting orders. Now, so video demo. Next thing on the list, good samples. You have to have good samples. Now, if you've already taken the time to spend money on a professional demo, which you should, then use the sample. You obviously take your demo, break it up, and then use the elements from your demo as your individual samples for your individual gigs. Now, if you don't have a professional commercial demo just yet, then obviously what people will say is go through and put together the samples and work through and do them the best you can, which to a certain degree that's true. But before you go through and put your samples out there that you're doing yourself, you do want to make sure that you do have a coach, or at least someone that has enough of an industry ear, not an industry ear, but when I say an industry ear, I mean a broadcast quality ear, to be able to listen to your stuff and be able to tell you that it's really there, or if it's not there, if something needs to be tweaked or changed, and to be able to give you some honest, solid, constructive criticism to make sure that you're putting out the best possible product as possible. Because what's happening right now is because Fiverr is such a publicly traded company, and because there is the word is really getting around that there is real money being made out here on Fiverr. More people are coming over to Fiverr. You want to make sure that everything that you do is on point, because the competition is thick and serious over on Fiverr now as well. Especially when you can get over on Fiverr, and depending on how you go and flow through the ranks, you can start to make more money on Fiverr than on the pay to play. Somewhere where you have to pay versus Fiverr, you're just paying the 20% that they're getting after you get the gig. Hey, 1 + 1 is 2. So, good samples. Professional pictures, I already mentioned that one, but that professional pictures, it all kind of goes with the overall flow and the overall look of your gig and of your gigs and of your profile in general. You want to present yourself as a working professional, which we are. So professional pictures, gig optimization, keywords, gig extras, and such. Keywords are an intriguing thing, interesting and complex all at the same time. And the thing that I have honestly done is just tested various ways, seeing what type of results that I've been getting, and going from there. Now, just giving it a whirl and seeing it's really been through experimentation. Search engine optimization is a whole nother animal of something that we as voiceover actors definitely need to learn, because everything that we are on is a database of some sort, and there's literally tens of thousands of us in these databases, and we have to make sure that we know enough about how these work so that our profiles can be optimized to come to the top, so that our websites can be optimized to come to the top, so that wherever we are, we know how to cut through the fluff to come to the top, which kind of gets with the keywords and the gig extras. I spoke about that a little bit earlier. Gig extras are a wonderful thing. Learn how to work your gig extras that flow with the services that you're offering. And I don't give a lot of examples with all of this, because everybody's experience is different. Everybody's voiceover business is different. What you're trying to get out of your voiceover business is different. And therefore, your pricing structure is different and should be different, because your pricing structure should reflect what you're trying to do in your business. Now, next thing, going on to the next point, number 4, which does kind of flow into my next point of number 4. Your results will vary. Now, when I say your results will vary, what am I talking about? You may be the person that makes a ton of money real quick and real easy on Fiverr. The next person sitting next to you may not. The next person sitting next to that person may make okay money on Fiverr. The next person sitting next to them might make more money than all of y'all put together. Everybody's experience is going to be different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different levels of talent. We all have different levels of grind as far as how hard we're going to go in to go get it. We all have different levels of time to put in to go get it. We all have different levels of just skill. And just in general, we're all just different. So we don't get too caught up and get too discouraged in seeing someone else's success and thinking that your lack of success is not measuring up. Because at the end of the day, if you're getting in here and you're putting in the work, your success will come. Now, your results will vary. Don't get discouraged. It's an individual race, which gets back to one of the points that I made in another video that you should definitely go back and watch about making goals for your business. If you make goals for your business, you can always be able to check your progress against your goals that you set for yourself, and you can be able to pat yourself on the back with the progress that you're making. Or if you need to give yourself a kick in the rear end to get going, then do that as well. But this is all about getting you to build your business to where it needs to be, which is the whole point of setting goals. Now, your results will vary. Now, let's talk about moving up the ranks. And I'm talking about the ranks in Fiverr. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. We'll talk about this other part later. When you're talking about moving up the ranks in Fiverr, now you start off as a no-level seller, right? Then, you work up to a level 1 seller, right? That's not too difficult to get to level 1. And then from level 1, work a little bit harder, but then you can get to level 2, right? Now, here is the thing that you got to think about. And here is where people really start to get it in with Fiverr. And here is where a lot of people miss, I think, on Fiverr, and where a lot of people get discouraged, which is why the first thing I said was adjust your expectations. Because if your expectations are not correct or improper, then you won't have enough thought to think about and focus on the end game. Because, see, here's the thing. Fiverr is a marketing machine, right? And Fiverr already is pulling in a ton of business of people looking for us and others providing other services like ours, right? So this machine is already working. The best thing that we can do, and the thing that profits the most smartest people, who just so happen to be the people who are making a ton of money on Fiverr, is how to work so that the machine looks at you first, right? Now, who does the machine look at first? Who does the machine favor? The machine favors the people who are highest up in the ranks. Now, I was listening to a particular individual talk about on their podcast, and I went back to some of the earlier episodes and listened to them, and then listened to them in their latter episodes. The one thing that's interesting about following people, and in following me, you'll be able to see as the time goes on, you'll be able to see as I evolve as a voiceover artist, and as I evolve just as an artist and a content creator in general, and you'll be able to see how my content and everything evolves over time as well. And as you see people evolve and they tell you their story, if you pay real close attention, you can see the parts where things really started to jump. Now, what does that have to do with moving up in the ranks? Now, moving up in the ranks in Fiverr is very important because the higher up you get in the ranks, the higher the algorithm is going to put you up in those search results for those high ranking keywords. Now, for us as a male voiceover actor, American professional voiceover actor, male voiceover actor, American male voiceover actor, male voiceover, American male voiceover. For me, African American male voiceover, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, the higher up you get in those searches, the more business that's going to come to you. The more business is going to come to you. Why? Because you're getting viewed. Your impressions are going to go through the moon. And once your impressions go through the moon, that means you're being seen by more eyes. More eyes that are being seen on you. That means that everything that you've done before that I've spoken about, with your professional profile, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that all goes right into play. And then your orders are like coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. So, boom, your revenue shoots and skyrockets. Why? Because you moved up in the ranks. Now, how do you move up in the ranks? Therein lies where things get a little dicey, right? And this is why I say that. Because in the midst of moving up the ranks, in order to move up the ranks, you have to get business, right? And you have to generate a certain level of money to go from level 1 to level 2. There's an income span that you got to hit, and to go from level 1 to level 2, right? So in the midst of you trying to hit that income span, you could get caught up in the numbers, especially as you get into this world of Fiverr and getting business, and you start to realize how much value as a voice actor you really have, and how much there are, and how many people, and how much there's a big segment of people on Fiverr. A lot of them I've ran into from the international market. They definitely are looking to take advantage of those of us that are coming in new to the business who don't know, and are willfully and happily charging and paying out very, 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 very low rates. And a lot of voice actors are taking it because they're inexperienced and they just don't know what they don't know. But as voice actors, as we start to grow and we start to learn and as we start to invest in ourselves and we start to be able to really perform more and get better clients and get attractive to better clients, and as we start to be able to win auditions and we start to be able to really start to get a stride and start to flow into where our voice really fits and start to gravitate toward what we really what the market is saying to us and what we enjoy doing all at the same time, right? So, but in the midst of all of that, there's this time period where people will be sending you and ask you to do things where if you're out here and you're an entrepreneur already and you have some businesses that are making money already and you're trying to build this, someone offering you a $5 job that 20% of $5 is, which Fiverr takes 20%, by the way. 20% of $5 is $1.50. $1.50 minus $5 is $3.50. $3.50 for how much time you just spent on that job? Now, let's break it down into audiobooks. Audiobooks is definitely another area where on Fiverr where it really gets to be intriguing as far as the numbers go. Now, but let's go into it. A popular number that seems to be floating around for audiobooks on Fiverr seems to be this $25 to $35 per finished hour. For the new individuals out there, per finished hour is the amount of time that it takes to pretty much read this particular book, right? So per finished hour is the amount of time that it takes to actually narrate the book, right, in just an average amount of time, right? So anyway, so let's say you have a book that's 2 hours, right? You got a book that's 2 hours. The average voiceover person that's coming in here brand new, that's new to the voiceover industry, that's new to doing narrating and producing and mastering audiobooks. If you're brand new to it, then your ratio of doing audiobooks is going to be about 3 hours for every 1 hour of finished audio, right? So 3 to 4 actually, and that's 3 to 4 hours. But let's just give it on the good side and say it's in the 3 hour time frame, right? So for every 3 hours, every 1 hour of finished audio of an audio book, it takes you 3 hours to get it done, right? So a 2 hour book is going to take you 6 hours, right? So a 2 hour book takes you 6 hours. Now, and for the sake of, let's say they're going to pay you $25 per finished hour. $25 per finished hour for a 2 hour book, that is $50, right? $50 for that particular book times 20%, right? 20% of $50 is what? $10, right? So now that $50 is now $40. $40 divided by, it took you 6 hours to do this particular book. So now you got 6 divided by 40. So you take 6 divided by 40, and that gives you $6 and some change, give or take. So you just made a whopping $6 and some change, which, depending on where you live, that is well below the minimum wage in most places for narrating, producing, editing, mastering an audiobook. And let's keep in mind, this is given the benefit of the doubt that you actually get it right the first time, and that when you submit it to them, that they don't come back and say, oh, this character, could you make their voice a little higher? Or could you make their voice a little lower? Or could you do this with this one? Or could you do that with the other one? Oh, well, and when you did this, this and this and this. Or when you did that, do da 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 da. Or let's keep in mind that you got to kind of take for granted that you don't get one of these books that are that you're narrating for one of these wonderful international people that is written, but you can tell that it wasn't edited. Get out there and do a couple and you'll see what I mean. You'll get a book and you'll start reading the book for the sake of getting some familiarity with the book to be able to narrate the book, and then you will see obvious mishaps in the text of the book, to the point that you really almost want to go back and ask the person you want to charge them just to edit the book, because it's harder to read than narrate and edit the book and narrate and produce the book, because the book is so poorly written in some cases. But it comes with the territory. And yeah, it comes with the territory. So you have to keep all of these things in mind. So when you're talking about audiobooks, so when somebody gets out here, especially for us new people, and especially on Fiverr, because this is one of the things that they'll be trying to do to you. But now, I also must say this too. Now, let's say you are that person who does realize that you're trying to get this, you're new, right? You're really trying to get a couple of these under your belt, and in this particular case, you might not mind working for the $35 per finished hour or the $25 per finished hour for a 2-hour book, because you're really trying to learn your DAW and get all of that and get your process really down, and you're really viewing it from an on-the-job training type of thing, right? Now, that is an interesting and a good standpoint to look at it as well, because you still have to hit this big income gap as far as money being made to go from level 1 to level 2. And then once you get to level 2, you start to get to my understanding, I've never gotten to level 2 just yet. I've gotten to level 1, but I've never gotten to level 2. But to my understanding from viewing and hearing the other level 2 and top rated people speak, once you get to level 2, you get a boost in your income because you now get a boost in your exposure and your impressions, right? So as you get a boost in your revenue and your exposure and your impressions, that gives you that extra fuel to boost you to boost people to get up to top rated seller. Now, to my understanding and just hearing and viewing other people speak about it, when they get the top rated seller, I heard on one particular person's podcast where they mentioned that their revenue tripled when they got the top rated seller. So I said all that to say this, to get back to that low paying person, that's a lot of them out there charging low paying stuff for audiobooks. There's a lot of people that are charging $5 and want you to do 2-3 hours worth of work for a $5 job. I kid you not. And some of these people are the hardest ones to work with. Now, on the same token, there are people out here who will pay you $200 and $300 to do that same paragraph or those same $5 jobs as well. There's people who will pay you $100 to do, much less work than someone that's paying you $20. And it's really crazy, but it's really true. The person that's paying you the most money are easier to work with than the people paying you the least money. But when you're going through this road of dealing with Fiverr, there is going to be that time where you're just going to have to kind of grind out and get your numbers in. Now, in the midst of all of that, if you have to keep in mind the multiple income stream method as well, and be on other sites as well to be able to also have multiple poles in the water, so that you can be able to catch fish from different poles, if you understand what I'm saying, from the fishing analogy, or just from a business analogy. You need to be on multiple sites other than Fiverr, especially when you're in the beginning and when you're building. You should be on other sites like Voquin and trying to work them just the same way that you're working Fiverr. But since we're talking about Fiverr, you do want to make sure that when you're going through this period and you are getting this work and you do have to build up your numbers, do realize that once you get to level 2, your money's going to bump. And the money you get bumped from level 2 is going to fuel you to be able to get the top rated. To my understanding, when you get the top rated, oh God, it's on. So I said that to say this. To those of us trying to get in here and dig in through Fiverr, just kind of hang in there and get your numbers up. Because as we get our numbers up, the Holy Grail is on the other side. Which brings me to another point of why you're trying to get your numbers up and get to the Holy Grail, because I've gotten some great work on Fiverr as well. And here's a way that you can help to boost that. Promote your gigs for Fiverr on your social media platforms. Now, I hear some of you saying, I have about 3 followers and 2 of them live with me. Now, this may be the case, but here's the thing that I've noticed. And I don't have a huge media following at this moment either, but I do encourage you to follow me on Instagram follow me on Instagram at RichardHawks2 for my voiceover, for all of my voiceover endeavors, Richard Hawks 2. Richard Hawks, the number 2, on Twitter and on Instagram. And right here on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Like this video, share it with anyone that you think it'll benefit, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, The Reality of Voice Acting with Richard Hawks, talking about Fiverr today. Now, promoting your gigs on other forms of social media and then at Fiverr, it has helped, and I have seen my impressions go up just as a result of just doing that. And on top of that, when you put it out there, people can actually click on your link on your gigs from outside of Fiverr as well. But the biggest benefit that you get is more impressions inside of Fiverr by promoting your gigs outside of Fiverr. Now, and one other thing here that I kind of want to go over that people talk about, the buyer request section. Now, I have been advised at one particular time to do at least 10 buyer requests per day. And I did that. And work started to come in. And I've noticed a couple things about that. You can definitely start there if you don't, and there's a lot more buyer requests to choose from now. So you have a lot more to work with. But in the midst of doing your buyer request, you do have the possibility of inundating yourself with a lot of future messages from a lot of this low-paying work, but it kind of comes with the territory. But if you're consistently doing it per day, you will start to see some work come in. And in the midst of the work that you do, even if it's do, make sure that you actually do a point to do the best job that you possibly can, and get you a 5-star rating from these people. Those 5-star ratings are gold, especially new, and they'll help to really give you an extra boost and an extra push in the algorithm as well. Another thing that I didn't go over that you really need to make it a point to do: always leave your gig online. Always be online. There's an option in your gig to show online. Always show online. Even though I know you might not say, well, I'm not online all the time, but always show online. Because when you show not as being online, then you go down in the rankings a lot. And as a new person, we're already at the bottom. You can't afford to stay down on page 25 when we need to be as close to page 1 as possible, even if we get to page 2 or 3. Now, so always stay online. For those of us who have smartphones, everybody has a smartphone. Download the Fiverr app to your phone. Whenever someone sends you a message, especially if it's not spam, respond. Even respond as quickly as possible, even if you only respond saying that you'll respond later. But still respond so that you can keep your response rate up. Your response rate is one of the metrics that you have to achieve to be able to go from level to level. Having the app and responding to your messages quickly, even if you just respond saying, hey, I'm going to respond to you later, it still, keeps your response rate up. And that's an easy metric to hit to go to the next level. Now, in the midst of it all, I think we're going to end it off right there. And once again, this is not a video to bash Fiverr. This is actually a video to say, well, hey, there's money over there, and we got to just make sure that we work the platform accordingly to get the most money out of Fiverr that we possibly can as voice actors and as freelancers. Now, before I leave, I want to constantly remind you, like, share, subscribe. I'm going to put up some additional videos that you can check out from the channel. And keep coming back. This week, we're talking about Fiverr. Next week, or the next couple of days, we're going to be talking about something else. The reality of voice acting, right here on YouTube with yours truly. Follow me on social media, Richard Hawks, 2. Check out my website, www.richardhawks, 2.com.